But first, as allegations of state capture continue to swirl around them, the Gupta family is really out of the headlines. The latest suggestion is that state-owned power utility Eskom has awarded a coal supply contract to a company in which they hold a significant interest through a controversial deal. Devi brings you this Carte Blanche exclusive investigation.
Every day, Optimum Mine feeds its coal across a conveyor belt into Hendrina Power Station. In December, the mine was bought by 𝗀𝗃𝗃 Exploration and Resources. Its majority shareholders are the Guptas, and 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏, the president's son, has a substantial stake in the business.
This is a story of documents and secret sources, because when you say the words Guptas, Eskom and coal in the same sentence, you get very few insiders willing to tell their stories on camera.
It's not surprising, because in December, South Africa realized just how powerful the Guptas had become. Journalists exposed how the Guptas have the power to hire and fire cabinet ministers, and the subsequent allegations that they have captured the state have refused to go away. In this context, the deal was of particular interest to journalists like 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Effectively, the Minister of Minerals has been responsible for allowing this deal to go ahead. He serves at the sole pleasure of the President, whose son is a major beneficiary of the deal. The conflict is clear, absolutely. And no one has actually found a breach of any law or regulation. But it doesn't look good.
And it didn't make much sense either. Optimum Mine once made men rich, but by late last year, its owners Glencore were losing millions every month. They were locked into a coal supply contract with Eskom till 2018, and at 150 rands per ton of coal, they couldn't even cover costs and put the mine into business rescue. In December, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏 announced the purchase.
To get their hands on Optimum Mine, they had to get 2.1 billion rands. Once they got the money, they would then settle the debt with the bank. But 2.1 billion is a lot of money, even if you are a Gupta.
On the face of it, Eskom weren't giving the company any special favors. Eskom said they would still have to pay the additional 2 billion rand fine incurred by Glencore for supplying coal that Eskom said had damaged its power station. Matshela Koko is Eskom's group executive for generation.
What is the current status of the 2 billion rand penalty?
Stands. We want it. It's our money.
On top of that, Eskom would still buy coal from Optimum Mine at the loss-making price of 150 rands per ton till 2018.
The Guptas are astute businessmen. Would they have invested in a dud?
This is, of course, the question. If you look at this deal as an outsider, it doesn't make sense for that exact reason. The Gupta family has made a lot of money in this country. Say what you will about state capture and about the potential helping hand of President Jacob Zuma, they are great business people. So they must know something that someone else does not know. The numbers just don't stack up. And more importantly, the funders behind this cannot be very stupid. We do not believe that the Gupta family and 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 and co. had between them 2.15 billion rand in cash to put up.
From the 1st of January, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏 assumed responsibility for financing Optimum, but they still hadn't found the money to pay for it. That came later. Now, Optimum Mine is buzzing, but 20 kilometers away at the 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 mine that feeds Arnott Power Station, that mine is dead.
That's the 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 mine behind me, and for years that mine delivered coal directly to Arnott Power Station. It was really quite simple. They mined the coal, slapped it on a conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt carried it all the way here. But then the coal started to run out and it became more and more expensive. So 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 came up with a plan to expand. They needed Eskom's buy-in. Eskom refused. And in December last year, they had to shut shop.
𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 was shocked, but won't speak out against Eskom because their other mines depend on them. So we asked Matshela Koko why they shut the mine.
Because we've been a cash cow. Because they've been milking us. Cost Plus Mines have been milking Eskom.
Cost Plus Mines once formed the basis of Eskom's coal supply. Eskom invested in the mines and in return got good quality coal at low prices. But that model no longer works, says Eskom.
All what I know as Eskom is that I need 38 billion rands to capitalize the cost plus mines. I can't afford it, I don't have it.
But the effect of Eskom's sudden closure of 𝗀𝗧𝗄 in December left Arnott Power Station critically short of coal, even though there are still 70 million tons of mineable coal.
When our sources handed us this document, they made a shocking allegation. They claimed that Eskom had artificially created a coal shortfall in order to pave the way for the Gupta-owned Optimum mine to provide coal to Arnott at inflated prices.
It was hard to believe that Eskom would really put the country's electricity supply at risk to enable the Guptas to make a quick buck. And yet, it was clear from this document signed by Matshela Koko that 𝗀𝗃𝗃 had been given an initial 586 million to fulfill Arnott's emergency order. 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀, a Glencore company, was also contracted to supply Arnott with 540,000 tons. Neither went through a tender.
South Africans just want to know, is electricity costing us more because you are making loaded decisions?
No. No. In fact, in the last 12 months, we've moved away from suppliers that milk Eskom.
This week, Carte Blanche flew over the Optimum mine and captured hundreds of trucks filling up thousands of tons of coal and trucking it up the road to Arnott. Suddenly, in December, Deon Kleinhans, who farms cattle and maize right next door to Arnott, couldn't even get into his farm.
Elke dag is dit 'n bekleierery. Ek kan by my eie plaas ek nie inkom nie. Ek het ook 'n besigheid wat ek bedryf. Van boerpunt af kan nie meer boer langs hulle nie. Hulle maak dit vir jou onmoontlik.
There have been fatalities, and the roads are disintegrating. Now the water Deon's cattle must drink is black from the coal dust. Some of his maize is half the height it should be. But when he approached Eskom, they insulted him.
Dan maak hulle beloftes en dis dinge wat gaan gebeur en goed, tot eendag toe kom die persoon terug na my toe. Toe sê hulle praat nie met uneducated people nie.
He is now taking legal action against Eskom.
So how much of Optimum's coal is going to Arnott?
255,000 tons up to April.
And yes, you guessed it, this coal is of the most expensive that Eskom buys at a fixed cost.
581 delivered.
We asked a coal expert to comment on the price.
The price is incredibly high because they're paying more than 20 rand per gigajoule, which is about twice as much as the normal coal gets sold to Eskom.
So couldn't you have negotiated a better deal?
I will negotiate hard, but ultimately I get what I get. But if I can get the coal cheaper elsewhere, I'll go there.
Eskom knew they needed coal for Arnott. As far back as August last year, they put out a tender to their regular suppliers. But 10 months later, those same suppliers are waiting for the tender to be awarded.
And they cannot understand that while they wait 10 months for a tender that Eskom wanted them to start supplying on the 1st of January, 𝗀𝗃𝗃, who didn't tender, are merely filling up Arnott's power station at a far higher price than necessary.
Does it take so long?
It does. It
Why?
does, certainly. Because some of the mines are new, and because some of the mines are new, we need to go through extensive combustion tests to make sure that we can burn them in our boilers. And secondly, we're talking to these guys with the view of getting them to absorb some of the people that are at 𝗀𝗧𝗄.
When the 𝗀𝗧𝗄 mine closed, around 1,000 people lost their jobs. 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀 is perplexed by the closure, not only because of the job losses, but because Eskom will have to pay the mine closure costs too.
It is the taxpayers' money that is pushed into the drain. Like, for example, I'm not in business, but it's a very stupid decision then to pay about 2 billion rands, of which we are going to get 0 tons. It doesn't make any sense then to me.
It looks, on the face of it, that Eskom created a path for Optimum mine under the leadership of the Guptas.
It's not true. We did not appoint the Guptas. The Guptas were brought to us by the business rescue practitioners.
But there are other miners in the area who say they have coal available, but they were all sidestepped.
No. Let's start again. We did not create a path for anybody. We have proposals of miners that want to supply Eskom with coal. And we've got their prices. The prices are nowhere any better.
Are you sick and tired about asking questions and answering questions about the Guptas?
Well, let me tell you what I'm sick and tired about. I'm sick and tired of people wanting us to treat them differently, because they're not different. Because the assumption is that they cannot put an honest tender and win it.
But, say several sources, they didn't have to, because Eskom ignored its own procurement processes and just gave them the contract. But Eskom defends their decision and says they got very favorable terms with their two suppliers and they needed to keep the lights on.
I have 3,000 megawatts at Arnott that I need to keep going. I need to keep the lights on. I need coal.
The big question is, how did the Guptas pay for Optimum Mine? According to this document, it seems that Eskom may have given them a helping hand. Just days before the Guptas were meant to pay off the banks, Eskom prepaid them an amount of just over 500 million rands.
Prepayment is a very interesting thing in this context. Somewhere 2.15 billion rand came from. If you as the Gupta family walk into a bank with a document from Eskom promising a prepayment, that's something that's very easy to loan money against. So if in the short term, let's say, you need 2.15 billion rand in a hurry, you have a document which says it basically an IOU from Eskom, that helps close the gap very quickly.
Why did Eskom prepay Optimum R500 million for coal?
We haven't.
You haven't?
We haven't.
Prepayments, is that something that's common?
We do it, yes. We do it in commodities. There must be a business case. And if there's a business case, we do it.
But you didn't pay Optimum any prepayment?
I'm not aware of that.
But the document signed by him authorizes the Chief Financial Officer to approve the basis for prepayment for the amount of 586,787,000 rands to Tegeta.
Okay, just help me out here. This is a document that I have that I want you to please have a look at it. And it's the board tender committee, it's approved minutes, and according to this, Tegeta has requested that Eskom consider some form of prepayment. So what is this?
You see, all the cost plus mines are prepayment. And that's not surprise for me.
Our expert disagrees. He says Eskom co-invests in the mines and that is not the same as prepayment. In a cost-plus mine, Eskom are not paying for the coal, they are paying for the mine.
So did you prepay?
I suspect that's the case.
Yeah, but Mr. Coker, you said no.
I suspect that's the case. Let me read it.
Have a look. But when I asked you, you said no. I asked twice.
I'm not aware that it's paid. But in the event that it's paid, it's not unusual.
No, Mr. Coker, we are not moving on from this as quickly as you would like me to move on.
No. But let's say I made a mistake. Let's say that.
Let's say you've made a mistake.
Okay, I made a mistake. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay. You see, one of the biggest mysteries has been, how did the Guptas afford to pay the 2.15 billion for Optimum? And now the allegation is this is how they were able to do it, because this is good as the money in the bank.
Yeah, but I can't respond to that.
And this prepayment was signed days before the Guptas paid the bank.
I can't. That's your version. Here's my version. I have a need for coal. I need to secure the qualities in the same way I do with all other mines. When I prepay Exxaro or Anglo, I don't create stories that says they need to do this and that with their money. When I use the 38 billion rands to prepay, that's what it is. I prepay to secure the coal that I need. It's not unusual.
But this contract with 𝗃𝗃𝗃 is not a cost-plus arrangement.
I have been told that Eskom has never ever paid for coal beforehand. So this happening now, I just don't understand why.
So the arrangement to pay 𝗃𝗃𝗃 exploration is unusual.
Yes, very.
In this letter sent by Mr. 𝗀𝗁 after our interview, he justified the prepayment to Optimum on the basis that they could only supply the right quality for 𝗀𝗏 by diverting their export quality coal, and they needed additional equipment to fulfill their delivery to 𝗀𝗏. Eskom add that the prepayment also included a 3% discount.
If Eskom is being managed in such a way to advantage one company, one family, then we're in potentially very deep waters indeed. That could undermine the entire system. If Eskom is not doing everything that it can to stretch its rand as far as it can go, then you and I should be concerned. This is a company that not only belongs to us as the people of South Africa, this is the company that underpins our entire economy. We probably should give this greater scrutiny than we do any other organization in this country.
Eskom have now extended 𝗃𝗃𝗃's so-called emergency arrangement until September. They say that these transactions have enabled Eskom to commit to no load shedding during winter. Who knew that we would have the Guptas to thank for keeping the lights on?
Well, in a statement issued yesterday, Chairman 𝗵𝗶𝘀 said Eskom stands by its process undertaken to conclude the extensions of its coal supply agreements with its suppliers. He added that he's satisfied that due process has been followed, and he is proud of the savings achieved by the executive team to date.